Thank you so much for tuning into the Lubbock Symphony's virtual concert series. In this unprecedented time, we're truly thankful for this innovative way to bring music to you at home. Thank you to our sponsors and to all the music lovers who have contributed to our symphony's Musician Relief Fund for helping make this concert possible. The Musician Relief Fund was established with a grant from the South Plains COVID-19 Response Fund to create innovative virtual work opportunities for the Lubbock Symphony musicians who are unable to perform in orchestra concerts right now, and to provide direct financial assistance to those with financial need. When you contribute to the Lubbock Symphony, whether through the annual fund or especially the Musician Relief Fund, you're helping keep the music alive in West Texas. I'm thankful for our musicians and my colleagues for stepping up to create these incredible new programs to share with the community at a time when we need music the most. Thank you so much once again. I hope you enjoyed the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our next installment of the Lubbock Symphony's virtual performances. And today we have a special guest, Jayson Bishop, a cellist with the Lubbock Symphony. Jayson, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
It's great to have you with us. We've talked a few times since I've been in Lubbock, and people in Lubbock. You're from Amarillo, right?
Yes, that's where it's become home. Yeah, I moved here from New Mexico.
Okay.
To go back to grad school.
Well, people in Lubbock may not be as familiar with your background as some of our musicians here locally, but you've got a particularly interesting story about how you learned and started to play the cello. Can you share a little bit of that with us?
Sure, I'd love to. So I had 4 older brothers, one of whom had a band when I was very young, like 9, 10 years old, around the time when you choose to play an instrument. And in his band, there was a violin, a viola, and a cello. And so when it came time to pick, cello was the coolest one and had the nicest sound and just seemed like the best one for me. So that was my very first cellist and cello experience, was in my brother Bart's rock band called Providence. So the rest is history.
Wow.
It kind of just took me from there to, music became my primary interest within a very few short years, 3 or 4 years from when I started at age 10.
Is it now your primary way of making a living?
It is actually almost my exclusive way of making a living for the first time just in the last few years in my life. I had a complete lifetime of business, sales, marketing, different aspects of the kind of the quote unquote normal or working world, and always did music on the sidelines or in the background until I divorced and became kind of a 50-ish guy that could do what he wanted to do and go any direction he wanted to go. And that's where I decided to go. Well, so it's been quite a journey so far.
Congratulations.
Really thank you.
Yeah, that's just amazing to me. Well, let's talk about the piece that you're going to play for us. It's a prelude from a Bach suite. It's the prelude of the 4th suite, and explain to us. I'm a cellist, so I played a few of these suites over my lifetime, and we all have, because they're just part of our vocabulary as cellists. We must play the suites.
Yeah.
But explain to us why the 4th suite is a particular challenge to us.
Well, being the middle suite of the 6, it's in the most probably unusual or maybe possibly problematic key of all of the 6 suites, E flat major. There are no open strings. There are lots of string crossings. Actually, I take that back. Open D, okay. But you have to cross for the tonic. You have to cross all 4 strings in the opening passage, and it becomes technically problematic as well as pitch-wise and relative pitch-wise. You have less harmonics to really kind of zero you in on the pitch. So it's just all the way around. It's just a really difficult key.
Yeah, I also find that some of the redundancy of you play a lot of the similar phrasings, and that's true in a lot of the suites, right? You play these similar phrases, and so it's really a tough thing to memorize. We want to play from memory to really allow ourselves to express what Bach was trying to say, but it is tough to memorize, right?
Yes, all the suites, in my opinion, have what I call trap doors, which are where you can fall from not only from one movement in a suite to another movement within the same suite, but even from one suite to another. There are enough fragments musically that tie into different movements and different passages from different suites that it is really fraught with difficulty. I once played all 6 suites over 2 concerts by memory in Amarillo about 5 years ago, and I always express my feelings the first night as the abject terror of a child on the ride, that he almost isn't brave enough to go on by himself for the first time. From the minute I played the first note, I almost wanted it to stop, and I made it through. And the second night was much easier, but boy, that first night was terrifying. Really.
Incredible that you were able to accomplish that. Well, without further ado, let's listen to the prelude of Bach's 4th cello suite. Thank you, Jayson.
Thank you.
Great. Welcome, everyone, to our next installment of Lubbock Symphony Orchestra's live virtual performances. We have with us today Neemias Santos. Neemias is a cellist with the Lubbock Symphony. Welcome, Neemias.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you from before you arrived in Lubbock?
I'm originally from Brazil.
Brazil? What
Yeah.
city?
I'm from Salvador, Northeast Brazil.
Okay, nice. And so you've been playing cello all your life, or is this something that came later?
It came later. I started music with percussion and block flute. Then I went to piano for a while. Then when I was about 15, 16 years old, I started cello. And
So
that's
this is quite late for you.
yes. Mhm.
Okay, and so I've known you for a few years now. You do a lot of different things. What musically are you most involved with?
Musically, I would say probably composition.
Composition?
Yeah,
Mhm.
composition and arranging. That's something that I started doing probably when I started learning the cello also, around 16 years old. And then it was something that I always, when I least noticed, I was involved with it. So it's something that I carried all through my life, and it's been with me, and I feel really, really happy when I'm composing, when I'm arranging.
That's wonderful. That's incredible. Well, so we have a piece from you today by Heitor Villa-Lobos. And tell us a little bit about Villalobos.
Villalobos is a Brazilian composer, probably the most, how to say, most prolific classical composer from Brazil. And I chose specifically this piece in this movement because this was probably one of the pieces that made me fall in love with the cello. And I never did the experience of doing everything by myself. And I just wanted to share this with other cellists, with my students and other people. That's something that moved me so much to learn the instrument.
And so this is the Bachianas Brasileras No. 1,
Yeah.
the second movement. This work is written for a cello choir
Yeah, it
originally?
was written for a cello choir. It's an eight voice cello choir, generally performed with at least 12 cellos.
Right.
And this movement is called modinha. It's a kind of Brazilian traditional music, popular music. It's generally it's slow, romantic, and it's like a Brazilian waltz, if I may, something
Very
like that.
good. Very good. Well, without further ado, let's listen to your rendition of the Bachianas Brasileras No. 1, the Andante. Thank you, Neemias.
Thank you.
we go. Welcome everybody to our next performer in our virtual concert series with the Lubbock Symphony. We are pleased to welcome Susanna Self. She is a wonderful flutist with the Lubbock Symphony. And Susanna, welcome.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's good to be here.
Of course. And so, Susanna, you are a distinguished performer, and I'm just wondering, how did you get to this point in your career? Where were you educated, and what has led you to Lubbock?
Well, it's very interesting. My roots are deep in Texas. I grew up playing in the band in Brenham, Texas.
Really?
And my my ancestors are from West Texas. So after I left Brenham, I went to school at the Eastman School of Music in Rochester. I went to Northwestern for a master's, and I played in various orchestras around the country. But my grandparents moved to, as well as my mother, moved to Amarillo. And at some point in my career, I felt like I really wanted to branch out into music therapy. So I got a degree in music therapy, and I moved to Lubbock to be close to my grandparents and start a music therapy practice. And when I found out what a great orchestra they have here, I auditioned, and luckily I got in. So
that's great. And you happen to be married to a fairly good cellist.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Yeah, he's okay.
Yeah, Jeff Lestraps, he's the professor of cello at Texas Tech, and just really great cellist and a great guy.
Right, absolutely. So today, what will we be hearing?
Well, today's selection is an etude by Joachim Andersen. Now, he's very famous in the flute world for writing various sets of etudes. And this particular one is very melodic. It has a lot of notes. It's very technical, but it's beautiful, very flowing, and it's a really nice piece. I hope you enjoy it.
So for those folks that aren't as educated in musical terminology, what is an etude?
An etude, the word etude is actually derived from the French, meaning study. So composers would write these studies or etudes that will work on a particular facet of playing. It could be articulating quickly, it could be big intervals, or in this case, it's moving, playing very quickly, but playing very smoothly at the same time.
I see. Well, thank you for that explanation. And without further ado, we will listen to your Joachim Andersen etude. Thank you, Susanna.
My pleasure. This is Joachim Andersen's Etude number 10, Opus 15, Andante Assai.